We will now move into our new business, which is item number 15, and we have several items tonight for this. We will open now into item number A, which is a request for censure of Councilmember Keisler, Resolution 2023-02. I do have a general statement that I'd like to make about both of these two items for the general public.
So these are broken down into two resolutions. The
Correct.
middle one actually goes over two of us. So how are we supposed to deal with responding to the fact that
So I'm going to cover that right now.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. So I'd like to begin with a general statement about the 5 items and outline the proceedings for the public and members of council to keep it orderly. Everyone at this table and in this room, figuratively for those who are on Zoom, is a human being. I want to make that statement very clear. We experience different emotions like joy, frustration, happiness, anger, and a slew of other emotions, and that is okay. There is no shame in feeling those emotions and expressing such emotions, and what defines us as good people is how we choose to express those emotions. And so today we're here not to discuss or make a ruling on if someone is parked legally, illegally, safely, or unsafely. We are here today to address, in my opinion, the censure items that we have related to the treatment of staff and fellow council members. So tonight, the comments we make should be kept to the matter at hand. We will not be discussing nor taking comments about parking procedures or snow removal policies. We do have a future agenda item on snow removal policies for the city in general at a future meeting, and hope that you can join us for that at this time. So I'm going to begin each item with a description of the behavior being addressed, after which I will allow the individual on council to address the city council in reference to that behavior. I will then open to public comment. Members of the public are welcome to make a comment or ask questions, but that time is not meant to be a back and forth between the council and the commenter. Comments should be made to the council and not the general public. Comments should be kept to the matter at hand and not devolve into items that are not discussed here tonight. If the comments venture into topic areas that are not related to this item, then I will request the commenter to return to the matter at hand. This is not the appropriate time to address the council on snowplow policies, as I've stated earlier, or other matters that are not here. There will be future meetings where the snowplow policies are discussed. After public comment, I will return to the council for follow-up and discussion, beginning with the person that is subject to the proposed censure. Then I will proceed to each council member for discussion in order. This process will be the same for both items. So we're going to begin with Councilmember Keisler and the memo that I prepared. I will then open to City Manager Dustin Reef, and then we will allow Councilmember Keisler to address. We will go to public comment, and then we will return. Everyone will have a chance to discuss at that time. Do we have any questions on that protocol? And then the other thing too is I just ask that everyone, including the members of the public, are respectful of everyone's time. Please do not talk over other people. I will gavel you and I will request you to leave. So I am now going to allow the city manager to make a statement regarding the proposed censure of Councilmember Keisler.
Mayor and council and members of the public, I am making a clarification of the censored documents, some of them regarding some errors, and then also provide some context. I know there's a number of emails that are provided in the packet, but I want you to, at least to understand the context from the city manager's standpoint and how we got to where we got to. I am presenting points of clarification for the official record to reflect the full picture of the situation and to correct errors and mistruths that are represented as a part of the censure packet. On page 15 of the packet, there's a mention of a recorded phone call. I am hereby requesting a language change and a retraction of that statement and a retraction of the recording. The statement should be read as follows. A written statement and summary of the phone call with Councilmember Keisler is provided to the council as supporting evidence, which I have a copy right here that will pass out. And I do have an additional available for the record. On page 21, the the first paragraph on the second line reads, Bruce sent another email threatening my job and decision-making. To clarify, this should read, Bruce sent another email threatening Dustin's job and decision-making, since the memo was actually written by Mayor Lucchese. On page 21, under facts supporting censure, the statement is referring to Dave Keisler. This statement should refer to Bruce Deutsch. I believe that is what Councilmember Deutsch was bringing up earlier. On page 34, in the fourth and the fifth paragraphs, Councilmember Deutsch, on behalf of Councilmember Keisler, makes the following statement. He is giving the responsibility to you now. If you don't find someone to do it, the decorations will stand, and there will be nobody left, nobody to put up the flags and take them down. It is in your hands now. Well played. For a point of clarification, the city does not own these decorations. They are owned by the Rotary. The city works in cooperation with the Rotary to allow them to be placed on city property. This is a long-standing tradition and a point of pride for our community. It is unfortunate that you are taking your personal grievance out with me out on the whole community. The city will not take responsibility for the ownership that lies with the Rotary. I want to personally commend Allison Leszewski on stepping up and taking down the decorations. Much like Dave, she too has volunteered her time to complete a community service. Thank you, Allison, for all that you do for the community. Your efforts do not go unnoticed. On page 52, paragraph 3, former city manager Randy Johnson refers to the California Vehicle Code 22651 parentheses K. He is correct in his understanding that the vehicle is legally registered. What he was incorrect about was his understanding of where the vehicle was parked. The city's right-of-way does not end at the edge of the asphalt. The city's right-of-way extends way beyond that. The city recently moved all the water meters off of private property to the streets in many neighborhoods, including Siskiyou Avenue. Councilmember Keisler's water meter sits multiple feet off the roadway. Staff members have stated to me that in past winters, Councilmember Keisler's vehicle was parked across the street on a neighboring property. This would assume that he knew that the vehicle was parked on a city street. Unfortunately, that location in which he parks is a grass area that is also not allowed as a parking area according to Dunsmuir Municipal Code. On page 55, there needs to be a clarification on the perspective. If Councilmember Keisler was seeking special treatment, why would he state, as mentioned in my statement about our phone call, I thought we had an understanding? Here is the lens under which I was taken through the whole situation. The week of December 5th, the city had 2 back-to-back snows, and we were behind on snow plowing. I conducted a drive around throughout the city and identified a number of areas with the public works supervisor later in the week prior to me leaving for vacation on December 10th. I told him to do what it takes to get them corrected. Some of these areas included a priority snow route on Siskiyou Avenue from the overpass to the school, all of Needham, Timber, Deerhaven, Forest, Hope, and Apple. Mr. Wilson worked with the Community Service Officer, Mark Allen, to identify vehicles that were in violation of the code and gave them warning tags to move their vehicles. 27 vehicles were given warning tags. 25 of these vehicles were moved, and the remainder were towed. These vehicles were given warning tags on December 14th, nearly a full week after the snowstorm, the second snowstorm, actually. The number of vehicles and lack of ability for the city staff to clear the streets in a safe manner warranted a citywide street sweep. The street in question is one of a few with a yellow painted line indicating it is not a neighborhood residential street, but a collector street, much like Dunsmuir Avenue. The street was down to approximately a lane and a half with no turnouts for passing vehicles. Councilmember Keisler called me on the morning of December 15th while on vacation, attempting to plead his case regarding the warning tags. However, he noticed he never once contacted the code enforcement officer to ask why. I was in Anaheim and on vacation and empowered my staff to follow the city code and enforce equally and fairly. I told Mr. Keisler I would look into it. I did not state I would call him back. The conversation was very intimidating, and he was expecting me to take action on his behalf. I immediately called Mayor Matthew Bryan to discuss. I felt an extreme uneasiness about the entire situation, so I called the city clerk, Wendy Perkins, and the finance clerk, Brian. While I was on the phone with Wendy, Councilmember Keisler attempted to enter City Hall, and even blocked the door, attempting to gain access. Again, attempting to intimidate and use his position of authority for his own personal gain. I provided guidance regarding security, and I attempted to enjoy the remainder of my vacation in Disneyland. When I returned on December 19th, nearly 2 weeks after the storm, the situation with the vehicle had not changed. Mark Allen asked me for advice on towing of vehicles. I stated that we treat all of them equally, no exceptions. Mark began checking all of the locations and coordinated the tows of 2 vehicles. I reviewed the situation, and I was bound by the ethics and the law to treat all equally or place the city in a potential legal situation with the other 26 vehicle owners. Not only was I bound by the law, I also felt unsafe to communicate with Councilmember Keisler due to his attempted intimidation of myself via the phone and his in-person intimidation of City Clerk Wendy Perkins. After the towing of the vehicles, things escalated. On December 22nd, Councilmember Keisler called me at the office stating, "I thought we had an understanding," and further intimidating me, trying to plead his case. Later on that same day, Councilmember Keisler and Councilmember Deutsch jointly entered City Hall to pay his fine. The account of this situation is a part of the record as a video and contains audio recording the escalated situation. The emails and berating continued, culminating on January 3rd with the email documentation I provided to Mayor Bryan and Councilmember Lucchese. The threats and demeanor triggered a security response. Excuse me. At this point, city staff no longer felt safe. I closed City Hall to the public for the entire week. I requested additional law enforcement patrols and contacts with both city council members, Keisler and Deutsch. I spoke with this and saw with law enforcement every day until the situation calmed down. At this point, staff was aware of everything that was going on and over social media and of the threats to Mayor Bryan. These threats carry over to city staff via his spouse, Monty Bryan. Threats to government officials, excuse me.
Okay.
Threats to government officials that are actions that are unacceptable and should be taken seriously. I provided an administrative appeal form to Councilmember Deutsch on behalf of Councilmember Keisler, but have not received an official appeal to this date, and the standard appeal process has since concluded. I want the community to know that I do not know that I can even quantify the amount of time and city resources that were used to address these issues, but I would estimate that my time alone is in excess of 80 hours. This does not include the mental toll, stress, and feelings around being unsafe this has had on all of my staff, especially those at City Hall, but also including myself and my family. I did not come here to make accommodations. I was hired to do a job and move the city of Dunsmuir forward in our mission to serving citizens in the best and most effective way possible.
Thank you. Nice job, Dustin. Excuse me. All right, thank you, City Manager. As presenter of the 2 memos, I'd like to reiterate that this proposed censure is in relation to the actions and behavior of Councilmember Keisler for this first item. The behavior that was exhibited and the response from Councilmember Keisler that is presented in this packet is, in my opinion, a disservice to the city of Dunsmuir. We at this table are representatives of the city. Therefore, our actions and behavior are a direct reflection of our residents and businesses. I ask my fellow council members and Councilmember Keisler the rhetorical question of what does this behavior say about our city? I was further disappointed by the response to my censure in the packet. There is a weak apology, in my opinion, to our city staff and no apology to our city manager. In my opinion, this statement takes little to no ownership or responsibility for Councilmember Keisler's behavior and impresses it upon others. City staff, myself, the public are not responsible for your actions. You and everyone in here always have a choice to express their emotions in a productive manner that seeks to solve a problem instead of projecting it on everyone else. My final statement at this time is that regardless of who you are or what you do for the community does not give you the right to threaten and bully others. You have done yourself and the community organizations you associate with such a disservice with this action. Your volunteerism does not absolve you of anything. It does not give you the right to anything. You have used the opportunity to serve this community as a means to your own benefit in this circumstance instead of the altruistic purpose of volunteerism. I will cede my time to you for response. So Councilmember Keisler, prior to public comment, I would like you to give you as much time as you would like to address what has been presented. I ask that the other council members, the public and staff give him the time that I was afforded as well as the city manager. Please let me know when you have ceded your time and we will open to public comment.
First of all, I never said to the city manager, I'm on city council, you have to do this. Not at any time. I've been sitting here or sat there for 10 years. I know better. I would not use my position as a city council member to try and get any favoritism or anything. I'm not sitting here as a council member disputing the towing of my truck. As a citizen, my truck never got towed off my property for 12 years. That's what I thought the understanding was. If the snowplow goes by, I dig my truck out. It's been that way since I moved in my house. The statement about my truck being parked across the street, that's not true. And I would like to read this one part here. I want to start by apologizing to Administrative Assistant Wendy Perkins for my behavior at the entrance of City Hall. I was upset, but I've been able to go into City Hall before 9 o'clock for 10 years. I have a letter from Julie Iskra. When I was at City Hall, we usually had a few people stop by before we opened the public at 9 o'clock. Some days it would be city council members checking their boxes for any mail or city correspondence for upcoming meetings. Dave Keisler would stop by on his way to work, and Matthew Bryant would periodically stop by on his way to the office. We saw representatives from law enforcement checking their boxes several times a week. Other councilmen would stop by and check if needed or sign since we needed 3 signatures. Dave Smith, the building inspector, would stop by if he had an early inspection in town and pick up the building permits that were kept at the office. Fire Chief Dan Padilla would also stop by and check his box and update with us overnight incident. City staff would usually check from Public Works and Water Department to update us on a daily project list. Some days were busier than others. I sincerely hope those days aren't gone, and I once again apologize to Wendy Perkins. I thought she was my friend. I would not do anything to intimidate. I never said intimidating in an intimidating way. When I said I thought we had an understanding, is I've had an understanding with the city for 12 years. If you plow my street, I got to shovel my truck out. It's on my property. And now you want to come up with easement things. That's a whole other story. My threat of court, that's down the road. And I still don't know why my truck is towed to another county 31 miles away. These are things that we'll talk about later. But I apologize to Cindy. I apologize if you felt threatened. I apologize to staff if they felt threatened. I'm just big, I'm loud, okay? But I never threatened no one. And I never used my power here to say you can't do it because I'm on council. Let's just set the record straight. And when I had this confrontation with Wendy Perkins at the front door, you were not on the phone. So don't say that I was on the phone when this happened, because you were not on the phone, sir. That's all I gotta say.
All right, thank you. All right, I would like to again reiterate to the general public, you will have 3 minutes to address the council. Again, you are addressing the council and not the general public, so please face us while making your comments into the microphone. I ask that members present please stand at the podium in a line to allow us to proceed in an effective way if there are many people who would like to make comments. After we hear from those in person, I will move to the Zoom call. Those of you who would like to make a comment on Zoom, please raise your hand using the reactions button, and we will call on you as soon as we are through the people in person, and then we will go through the list as people are listed on the screen, and we'll have our finance director, Michelson, read through those names when we get to that point. So I will now open public comment on this item, and you will have 3 minutes to address.
Hello. My name is Manya Bryan. I'm city staff. Dave Keisler, there is nothing big about the way you're behaving. It's time to stop the corrupt behavior of favoritism. Just because you're on city council does not mean you're above the law or get a free pass. There's no understandings. It is time for you to abide by the same laws as the rest of us. You continue to hold your volunteering up like everyone owes you for it. That's not true if you're actually volunteering. A true volunteer doesn't expect to get paid in any way, not in special treatment or favoritism. They do it out of the kindness of their hearts. You have also allowed Bruce Deutsch to weaponize your trauma. Because you allow a fellow councilman to treat city staff and fellow councilmen poorly on your behalf, you are guilty of perpetuating a toxic and unhealthy work environment. I am asking you to step up and stop. Stop asking for special treatment and stop the toxic behavior. Be the bigger man. Thank you.
Peter Arth, 5859 Sacramento Avenue. Of course, I've served with, I'm not going to call you Big Dave. Some of your detractors call you Little Dave. But I salute the mayor. I salute the last speaker for upholding the values of our community. It's an act of bravery that changes the paradigm of the way this city has been run for a number of years. I apologize to Dustin. You should not have been put through what you were put through. We'll get to Council Member Deutsch later, but Council Member Deutsch, on behalf of yourself and Dave Keisler, have said you're against our new city manager. You saluted him as a veteran, and then you disrespected him. Apologies are lovely. It's not enough. You need to man up. I hope you vote yes on your resolution of censure. At a minimum, you ought to abstain. How are you going to dig yourself out of this hole? The women of this community hold you in low regard because you don't take responsibility. You overplay volunteerism. Everybody loves a volunteer, but there's more volunteers than you that don't beat their chest and say they're big fill in the blank. If you're so unhappy sitting on this council, it causes you humiliation, you disrespect the mayor, you disrespect Matthew Bryan, you shouldn't be on the council. If it's causing you mental anguish, move on to something else. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Brian Wilson of Dunsmuir, California. I work for the city. I'm also a staff member, public works supervisor. I do the direction of snow removal. I stand behind every word Dustin said tonight, and in fact, I had half of it written down, but I wasn't allowed to say it. So thank you for saying it. Thank you for coming into our office and protecting us the way you do. You're a great addition, and we needed you there. So thank you. I had some stuff written down here. Bring my glasses. I did. Okay. Again, this is to Big Dave. I love you, Big Dave. You're like a brother to me, but man, you crossed the line, dude. This was not a personal attack on you. We were trying to be fair. We were trying to do our jobs right and safely. It's hard enough to do them as it is, but when we need to have vehicles moved, it's because it's something that we need. It's not picking on somebody at all. And we're not trying to use the power. Mark is a great asset to what we're trying to do out there. And all he did was go out and try to do a very hard job with best tools we have to do with. And that's these little notes that we handed out. And I think we got a really good response from it, but you didn't want to respond to us. I took that kind of personal. I thought, you know what? Our council member, my buddy, he could try to help me do my job easier, and he would move his vehicle. But you didn't. You chose to flex. And you know what? I think everyone's kind of tired of you flexing. And we do know you've done a lot for this community, and we really appreciate it. But we're all a village, but we all do a lot for this community. It doesn't give us the right to do wrong in the community. Anyway, I don't have any more to say. With great power comes great responsibility. Use it wisely. Thank you.
Hi, Karen Keisler. I used to live at 4829 Siskiyou Avenue. I relocated from Dunsmuir for my own protection. There are two really huge bullies sitting at this table right now. Through internet, through social media, in person. These two men have bullied me. One in particular for almost 15 years, terrorizing me on a daily basis. The other, his friend, has been in my home many, Dave's home, pardon me. In that home, many where I cooked a full course dinner. He used to call me sister. He used to say, I love you. He certainly doesn't act like it. This little outburst that you just saw from Dave, in my life and in that home, was an every day, every night occurrence. I'm not going to get that far into it. I believe that they both need to be removed off city council. In my opinion, off every committee, especially the ad hoc and the safety committees, if they're even on those anymore. These men are the least, they're hurtful, and they terrorize people, and they're bullies. And it's ridiculous. I'm sorry that you went through that. We haven't met personally. I feel your pain and your frustration. It's a very scary thing to have these two big men come after you physically. I saw the video. I wish you all well. I'm not going to say what I wish for them, because maybe my time is up. That's all I have to say. People, beware. Beware. This little outburst that everybody just saw, like I said, beware. Because he will tell you, I love you, I'm your friend. And he will turn that around. And his whole goal in life is to do something and have everybody praise him, set him on a pedestal, put him extremely high, and that is the only reason he does anything for this town. And that's all I have to say. You guys make your own decision. Thank you.
Allison Leshevsky, 53.
Sorry. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
It's okay. Allison Leshevsky, 5334 River Avenue. My partner, Wendy, the city clerk, would normally be sitting in that chair this evening. She's home, uncomfortable. I echo Mr. Reef's concern. I'm uncomfortable. I got enough to worry about. That when Wendy goes off to work in the morning, I want her to feel safe when she gets there. Not intimidating? Has somebody ever breathed over you like a dragon while they're talking? I'm embarrassed. This is embarrassing, Dave. Thank you.
Are there any other members of the public who would like to make a comment at this time?
I wrote a big thing that I was really gonna rip him, but everybody else did it for me. I just want to say, Dustin, I hope that you stick around. Dunsmuir could certainly use your leadership.
All right, are there any other members of the public in person that would like to make a comment before I move to Zoom? Right, seeing none, I'll go to the Zoom. Are there any members of the public on Zoom that would like to make a public comment on this item? And again, you go to the reaction tab at the bottom and you raise your hand if you so choose. All right, we will now close public comment on this item. Councilmember Keisler, I will return to you to begin discussion and further comments if you so choose. I am then going to move to Councilmember Deutsch, Clarno, Brian, and then I will finalize with myself. I again ask that when a council member is speaking to afford them the time uninterrupted. I appreciate members of the public who have been good so far. Councilmember Keisler, please proceed.
I'm sorry if you thought that was an outburst. I was just trying to defend myself. I never have used this council as for any favors. And I'm not the one that put everything I did in volunteerism. Bruce did that for me. I didn't put that out there. I wasn't trying to pull my own chain. So, y'all think what you want. All I know is ever since November, y'all ain't been liking me. And that shows. Whether I'm guilty or not. If I was guilty, I wouldn't be here. Fact. So, you know, I'm sorry that if you guys feel that I bullied you or if you're scared you can't go to work. I never tried to intimidate nobody. I know I'm big and I try and watch that half the time. I apologize to Wendy. I apologize if you think I never meant to make you cry, bro. That was good though. Good for the stage. Maybe I should have cried. But I never intimidated you. I never said, the only thing intimidating to you is I said, I'll take you to court. And we're not there yet. That's another conversation that we'll have in court. So I reiterate the fact that I didn't say you couldn't tow my truck. I said it hasn't been towed for 12 years and it's on my property. On my property. And when I went to City Hall that day, I didn't know you were on vacation. I thought you were in there. I wanted to talk to you. The sticker says get it off the street, out of the way of the snowplow. That's what the ordinance says. It's not on the street.
So again, we're not discussing whether it was parked safely, unsafely,
So
legally or not.
I can't plead my case.
No, not on that item of parking. You
Okay,
can discuss the
I never
censure
used my
itself.
authority to say to city council, all I said is it's on my property. Not that I'm a council member. I never said that to you. And you weren't on the phone with Wendy like you said. So, you know, I'm sorry if y'all don't like me from November of 2 years ago, but you're judging me and treating me on hearsay and mistruths. And I'm not the one that throwed my volunteers out there. I didn't do that.
I did.
So, I don't know what else to say. I go nowhere. And I'm anxious to move on and do city business.
Councilmember Deutsch, it's your turn.
First of all, I did apologize to Dustin personally on an email after this whole situation. I just can't, there's just a very fundamental thing right here. From the very beginning, there was never any thought that he's special and he needs to be treated special. It was all about the fact that he had been parked on his property, and for 12 years, nobody ever said anything. Nobody. I checked and found out from Randy Johnson and Mark Brannigan, and the idea that he would have to move his truck was nothing they ever considered for 12 years, across that period of time. What he was trying to say was, I'm parked on my property. Now, I know we're not supposed to get into this, but simply said, does that mean that people all across the city now have to worry about, what's it, the term I always have trouble with it, where you said that's extended beyond
The right of way.
the right of way. Does that mean that anybody?
Easement.
Easement, that's right. Does that mean that anybody in the city who for years has been parking next to the street now may be vulnerable to being towed?
Yes.
Well, then there should be a whole lot of talking going on, because he was never told before that you have to leave your personal property in order for them to pass the snowplow. I'll leave it at that. But the point I'm trying to make is that the idea that he tried to be treated special, he wanted to be treated like everybody else that was not parked on the street, but was parked on his property. The idea that at any time I was trying to treat him special because he's a council member was never part of it. What got me upset was the idea that he had reached out to City Hall. He tried to do something. He didn't say, I'm not going to move it. He thought that if somebody looked at it and realized and looked down, there's this property, that they wouldn't tow him. If anybody else, 3 days before Christmas, had found out by getting home and seeing the truck was moved and being hit with a $500 fine, I would have come to the same exact feeling for that person. It wasn't because he's Dave. It was, I happen to know him, so that's why I knew about it. But it's not because he has any special. It's just that he was parked where he has been parked for 12 years. And the snowplow has gone by every time, and never once did anybody say, I got to go over and plow under that truck. It was just that, why would that all of a sudden have to happen? So I will just leave it at that.
Could you please, I will ask you one more time and then I'll ask you to leave.
That's all I have to say.
Councilmember Klarner.
I've just got two things to say here. One is a fellow large person. It is, you do have to be very careful when speaking to people. And as someone who works in human resources, oftentimes it's not about anyone's intentions. It's about how it comes across and how it makes the other people feel is the truth of an issue like this. I'm not going to go into or speculate right now onto any intentions or anything along those lines, only address how it made the individuals feel, which I think is fairly evident from the testimony that people have been given. And that's what I'm going to say.
Councilmember Bryan.
Yes. Well, in addition to the immense testimony tonight from the community, I just could share that I was a witness to the reaction to this event. I'm not here to discuss the full implications of the street, not the street. It's not what's being questioned here, but the reaction of these individuals. I know it did shake our city manager and contributed to a very toxic work environment. And I just want to say, for this censure, this is a necessary reaction for a city that respects itself. If this behavior occurs, this censure I view as a necessary reaction. It's not a counterattack. It's not a next phase. The behavior occurred prior to now. This is the first meeting at which we're able to, in the correct format, with public notice, fulfill the necessary reaction, and that's my stance on it.
Thank you. I did not prepare my own statement for discussion because I was not sure how this was going to go with you, but I am so disappointed. Every phrase out of your mouth has been, I'm sorry you feel that way. That is not ownership. That is not responsibility. I'm done with you. I motion to approve resolution 2023-02.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion on the motion at hand? Seeing none, we'll move into a roll call vote. Finance Director Michelson, may you please do that?
Do you want me to do that order that you said?
Either order is fine.
Okay, we'll start with Councilman Clarno.
Aye.
Councilmember Bryan.
Aye.
Mayor Lucchese.
Aye.
Councilmember Deutsch.
No.
Councilmember Keisler.
No.
Motion carries.
Well, I thought it was a 2/3.
That is 2/3,
That's
it's 3 yeses.
66%, it's 2/3. You don't have enough votes.
3 yes, 2 no's.
3 yeses and 66, it's not 2/3 as your thing states.
The resolution states 2/3.
66%.
66%.
Sorry.
You do not
It is-
have
it's a majority.
66%.
What is it? What are you saying?
What is the vote needed to censure an individual?
A majority of the council.
Okay, thank you. There's a majority of the
It says
council.
2/3 in your resolution.
I am human. I can be wrong. I'm sorry, I made a mistake.
That makes 2 of us.
Is that a good example for you? All right, we will move into item 15B, censure of Councilmember Deutsch. I would like to begin again with Councilmember Deutsch's proposed censure with Councilmember Bryan, since he has been the recipient of many of the emails, and then I will move to City Manager Reef, and then finalize with Councilmember Deutsch and move to public comment.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to say that, my involvement as an elected official of the city of Dunsmuir is incredibly rewarding that the citizens would trust me to be involved. On my end, it is a matter of passion. I love this community. I believe anyone on council should be on here because they love the community and want it to be a better place, the best version of itself. I do believe the means of doing that are being civil to all the people you interact with, particularly your colleagues on council. Go back to our very first few months on council together with Councilman Arth. We passed the first city protocols where we established proper conduct between city councilors, it having been an issue in the past. I believe we had a unanimous vote in that February meeting, including Councilman Keisler and Councilman Deutsch. The emails I received from Councilman Deutsch were threatening, personal, venomous, entirely inappropriate in any workplace across this country or any point in humanity. They were abusive, done from the comfort of his own home. It's easy to hit a button in the wee hours of the night and spew venom. I have not responded to them because I didn't believe it was the appropriate time or place, either through email or in person. The time is here for the community. My only interaction or reasons why I was receiving these emails is I was elected to represent the citizens of Dunsmuir, and apparently Councilman Deutsch, as he elaborates in the emails attached, was not happy with Dunsmuir's decision in selecting me. I do not take it kindly that I was personally attacked and my very livelihood in this town was threatened. I want to just say it needs to cease immediately and permanently, or I will support all further actions available to the city or the community. Thank you.
I will now allow the city manager, Reeve, to address anything else specific to Councilmember Deutsch's proposed censure, since also the recipient of some emails.
Mayor and council and members of the public, I did not provide a prepared statement, but I do have a couple of things to note. I did also receive, there was also an additional incident that was not recognized in the packet with the interaction with Councilmember Deutsch, where he, and that was the week of the 3rd of January, when we did close City Hall, and Councilmember Deutsch entered City Hall, bypassed the front counter, not saying a word to anybody. And Councilmember Bryan, who was mayor at the time, happened to be in there for private business, conducting something for one of his clients, did witness the situation. He came into my office, pulled up a chair, uninvited, sat down, and commenced yelling at me and demeaning me in a number of different ways. And note that that was not included as a part of the packet in any capacity.
Thank you. Councilmember Deutsch, you may address the council on the proposed censure before we go into public comment.
I'd like to start off by apologizing for my weakness and my inability to control my emotions over something that had become very difficult to handle. And what that was was in November of 2021. 2 members of this council decided to speak to the press against the advice of the city attorney. And their goal, as stated to me personally, was to force Mr. Keisler to resign. Ever since that happened, and especially since he was in my home for a month recovering from finding out that he was, for the rest of his life, would never ever be able to tell if the person he's talking to maybe read that article and believes he's a wife beater. Those were the things that motivated me. It was something that was stewing inside of me for the month of November 2021. I put it behind me pretty much, kind of sucked it all in for the year of 2022. And then when I found out that what I believed was that Councilman Keisler was still in the target and was no longer going to be allowed to be considered a mayor for whatever reason. And then to me, that just kind of opened it up again, that this is not going to stop. This, what I call a casual cruelty. The idea that for the last 12, 14 months, he's been treated like a person who doesn't belong. That is what really got into me, was the idea that somebody could try to destroy another human being without any evidence, against the advice of the city attorney, and that all of that pain he just has to endure. It's just part of the job to spend a month crippled in bed with realizations of all of the way that his life had changed after he was labeled a wife beater. That's what drove me. I admit I'm not strong enough to have dealt with those emotions appropriately, and I'm sorry for that. I was locked into that mode. I was back in November 2021. And I apologize, Matthew, I realize what I sent to you was obnoxious and inappropriate in every way possible. That's all I have to say.
All right, thank you. Again, I will now open this up for the members of the public to comment on this. You will have 3 minutes. Again, we ask that you keep comments related to this item to what has been brought forward at this time. Again, those of you on Zoom, if you wish to make a comment, to go to the reaction button and raise your hand. Please state your name as you come up.
Manya Bryan. I'd like to say what no one else seems to be saying. Please stop. Stop harassing everyone. Stop threatening people. Even after the initial censure was brought to council, you continued. And you probably continue today to threaten people. You've created a toxic work environment and disrupted city business. This is all being under the disguise or guise of justice. However, there's no justification for gaslighting the community, city staff, and council. Just people don't threaten others. Just people do not repeatedly harass others. Just people do not gaslight or use toxic behavior to get what they want. Justice is not being served. You're just serving yourself. Please stop. Just stop threatening and harassing everyone. Thank you.
Karen Keisler. I'd like to respond to Bruce's. Where's my apology? I'd like to know, where's my apology? When I was in the domestic violence shelter for 2.5 months, you sent me email, you sent me text messages telling me that you were going to go to Kirk, what's his name? Anders, I'm so sorry. To have me arrested for making false accusations. You've been in my home on so many occasions. You've witnessed him abuse me. You've witnessed him shaking his fist and biting his tongue in my face. You've seen him tell me, shut up. You've been there. if you can actually sit there in all honesty and look at these people and look at me and say that didn't happen, but oh, everybody's just portraying him as this, everybody, but you're the only one that stands up. Why on earth? Why? I'd like to know, and I'd like to know, where is my apology? Where is my apology for the, what month? January of this year. You shot this thing out on Facebook. In there, you said false accusations. Dave was the one being abused. Look at me. And by the way, at that point, when he did get arrested, I weighed 120 pounds because I couldn't eat. I didn't eat for 2.5 years.
So please remember to make comments on items that have been brought up.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. Please just keep it to the items we've discussed here.
Like she said, just stop. Just stop. Move on. Stop. Stop bullying people. It's not nice. It's actually very, very a horrible thing to do. We teach our children in school from kindergarten, preschool. No, we don't bully. It's not nice. We do not bully. You're a grown man. Stop bullying people. That's all I have to say.
Still Peter Arth. Thanks to the transparency of our government and the bravery of some of those that serve the city of Dunsmuir, we get to see the emails. And censure, unfortunately, is about all this body can do to you, but I urge you to resign, Bruce. I mean, you've got less than 2 years left on your term, and you have done so much damage to the fabric of this community and to
One
the
second.
government.
Excuse me, again, if you're gonna have conversations, it echoes in here. Please go into the hallway. Please continue.
So all you have to do, and the notion that you and Dave were talking about initiating litigation, are you going to include the sheriff's department as well for unlawfully arresting Big Dave? Or is it just going to be the city? And is it just going to be Juliana and Dustin? And who all are you going to sue? Later at 1:23 p.m., Bruce sent another email threatening my job and decision-making. Pretty nice. What else do we have? It makes both Dave and me sick to have to sit in the same council chambers with them. And you can tell us who the them is. Who all makes the two of you sick in this horseshoe of leading citizens? Bruce Deutsch, Matthew Bryan, subject, fuck you. That's beautiful, Bruce. If you'd done that in the chain of command in the Navy, I think they would put you in a straitjacket and they would put you in the brig for psychological evaluation. I don't think that goes in the sheriff's department. It didn't go where I worked. Fuck you to a colleague. And it goes on and on. And instead of doing anything more than apologizing, instead of doing anything to remedy the harm the two of you have caused, you sit here and just explain your personal angst. It's clear to the community you've got some issues. I urge you to get help. If you're a veteran, there are resources. If you're not a veteran, there are resources. But I agree with the prior witness. You don't belong here in your current state of mind. Thank you.
Brian Wilson, Dunsmuir, California. I'm going to speak as a person right now, not as a staff member. What you've done to these people was really hurtful. To see Manya have to come in every day and the way she has to deal with what you're throwing at her. And I go, why? I keep asking myself, what does Bruce have to gain from this? To use Big Dave's pain to try to be the mayor, you know? Was it that important to be the mayor that you had to hide Big Dave's pain under your pillow till you could throw it out at people and make yourself feel better? You know, that's not It's not what we do to people. He deserves better than that too. If he's your friend, I don't know. I think we deserve better.
Allison Lashevsky, 5334 River Avenue. I've heard recently that you'd like to start a newspaper, Bruce. That's a big concern for me. I have a bachelor's degree in journalism, and I believe in journalistic integrity. I also have seen it being used as a tool for power and control, and I don't think that that tool should be in your hands. Maybe you should direct some of your energy towards the mental health services in Siskiyou County, which are obviously lacking. I'm embarrassed, not only as a Dunsmuir citizen, but as a member of other organizations that you belong to. Thank you.
Loki Boone, 4134 Grover Street. I want to say, Big Dave, I just really feel bad because you were one of the people who welcomed us into this community. And I feel like you have always been such a good friend to me and a kind guide to me. And I feel like we really have a good relationship. And I just want you to understand that I care and I understand you and I get whatever, but I just want you to step up for yourself and start making changes to this community.
Thank you.
Loki.
I'm Bonnie Bailey, 4134 Grover Street, Loki's mom. We're not in any place to defend abusers. I'm a victim of domestic violence myself. But I do want to make a point that Loki kind of broached, which is, out of everyone in this room sitting here, we don't know any of you. And these two men have been the only people who welcomed us here that's at this table right now to this community and have supported Loki and endeavors. And I'm not saying that it absolves them of whatever wrongdoing. I don't even really want to go there. I see so many different amazing perspectives here, and I see toxic things. But I just want to say that as newcomers here from Paradise, this has been our experience, and that's why it's very difficult to see, people we have come to care about and who have reached out to us in this community have problematic behaviors. And it might not be acceptable to everyone that I brought my 15-year-old here tonight, but he cares about these men. And it's important, I think, to see adults stand up and apologize, call each other out, confront gaslighting, confront toxic systems. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Are there any other members of the public who would like to make a comment at this time? I'll go to Zoom. Are there any members of the public who would like to make a comment on Zoom? All right, we have Sherry.
Sherry Coulter. I live on Needham Avenue. I feel that not only the censures are bad, everything that's going on is really bad. We've made our city look bad because of YouTube. And I really think that you both need to come to the realization you need to resign. You really do. You have made our city really, really look bad. And we are trying so hard to get us in tourism and everything that we need, and not this. That's all I want to say.
You completed.
She might have muted herself, and I've got it blocked off.
Sherry, did you want to continue to make a comment? You can raise your hand via the reaction button. We got cut off because of the recording. Okay. Okay, thank you. Are there any other members of the public? Seeing none, I'll close public comment on this item. Give us a second. I'm actually really surprised it's the first one that's come by. All right. Whenever you feel comfortable with the train. There's one more. I'm going to start talking, it's going to happen. All right. Again, I close the public comment. Councilmember Deutsch, I will have you begin the discussion on this item. I will then move to Councilmember Bryan, Councilmember Keisler, Claire, and finally myself. Please proceed.
It certainly is bracing to hear all of this criticism and to realize that it's correct criticism. I'm not going to try and defend myself. I made mistakes. I made serious mistakes. But at the same time, I was trying to deal with something that I couldn't find a way around. So with that in mind, I'll accept whatever happens from this point.
Great. Thank you, Councilmember Bryan.
Deutsch. Hold on.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Yeah, I appreciate everyone's feedback, and first and foremost, I do appreciate your recent moves towards apology, Councilman Deutsch. My interest is in maintaining an environment here on City Council, city staff, and the entire community where it is patently obvious that that sort of behavior is not appropriate. So my support for the censure is in reaction to what occurred. Happy to work forward in the future if your apology is sincere. I will say it is true that every time apologies are mentioned, a justification is brought in afterwards for a reason you were there. Understood, you need to figure out how to reach a better maybe work-life mental balance with this, but we're all here to make Dunsmuir a better place. And our poor city staff has had to disregard the important work of our citizens to emotionally handle the trauma you first put me through, and then I saw it spread like an infection, Dustin, other people at City Hall. I think you're recognizing that to some degree, and I'm appreciative. But I'm not going to discuss the events of last November. And I know you feel like that's the justification for all this. That's what you felt like at the time. I'd like to, going forward, have the understanding to be that that was settled back then. If you want to discuss it outside of city business and not have it be something that festers that, happy to do that. But the behavior was so inappropriate. I want to be clear going forward that any such behavior should warrant and will warrant a censure from the city of Dunsmuir. So that's where my position is. But
Councilmember Keisler.
No comment.
Councilmember Claire, no.
I'm going to keep this brief since I know a lot has already been said from a lot of different people. We need to make sure we're professional with our colleagues on city council. And I know in this case, it went beyond that. And we also need to make sure as councilors that we're supportive of our city staff. And make sure they have all the support that they need and make sure that they're comfortable doing their jobs. And that's what I'm going to leave it at.
Thank you. I want to begin with this statement. Talking about something that happened is not the same as talking poorly about someone. If you don't want people to talk about it, don't do it. I'm disappointed in your response in this packet. I am. I'm really disappointed that I have had to spend so much time on this when I could be doing so many other better things for the community. I still have yet to hear, I mean, this is what I did prepare for tonight, which is really sad that I wish I didn't have to still read this. I still have yet to hear a genuine apology to our city manager, who you yourself praised in the hiring process for having a high ethical standard. Neither of you have apologized to him yet.
I apologized to him in email.
Okay, cool.
I apologized to him earlier.
You said, I'm sorry you feel that
I
way.
said, I'm sorry.
Going back to my time. The apology issued to myself also is very patronizing and, in my opinion, did not show remorse. I need you to understand, as I've stated in the past, I am here to serve the people of Dunsmuir. As I stated before, I've spent a lot of hours to do this, and I've spent a lot of time talking to you as a person. We talked on the phone. I wanted you to feel better over the holiday season, and I genuinely wish you well. But you decided to yell at me, and you decided to treat people poorly because you wanted to be mayor.
That was not it.
Again, I'm taking my time. This is detracted from all of the wonderful programs that we're creating and implementing that benefit the whole community. You, in my opinion, have stolen that time from the people of this community, and you owe them just as much an apology, but also an atonement for your behavior. I am not one of the people asking either of you to resign. You have an absolute opportunity after this day to really make a change in your behavior and show other people that, again, as I stated at the beginning, we are human. We make mistakes. We have emotions. In this circumstance, I felt you did not express those in a productive manner. And you have an opportunity to show people that that is not you. And again, as I stated earlier, the language in these apologies trouble me because the ownership and responsibility of this censure on others is on yourself. You've been stating that, I'm sorry you feel that way, all those things, stating these excuses. And I just want you to take ownership and be a better person for this city. I'm going to conclude with these items with a warning. And that warning is that every member of this elected body and city committees are held to a standard, myself included. If this type of behavior continues to happen, if it's abusive, obstructionary, and threatening to any of our staff or fellow members, we will bring this to an open meeting and we will have this happen again. Any of us. That includes myself. That is the only thing that's fair to the people of this city. And we have historically, in my opinion, kept conduct similar to this and previous council's conduct in the dark for much too long, which has created an ill-gotten space for poor behavior. So I will make a motion to move forward with resolution 2023-03.
Seconded.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion at hand? Finance Director Michelson, may you please go to a roll call vote?
Councilman Keisler.
No.
Councilman Deutsch.
Yes.
Councilwoman Lucchese.
Yes.
Councilmember Bryan.
Yes.
Councilman Clarno.
Yes.
I would like to thank the members of the public for being orderly today. I'm going to now recess us for 15 minutes to allow you to go home if you are going to go home. I hope you do stay with us for the rest of the meeting. So we will now come back in 15 minutes.